Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the King's Table. It's yours truly, Melly Mel, aka Mr. Unapologetic. I'm here with the director, Darius Mitchell, right here at the Hideout, Broadway, beautiful city, Muskegon Heights. Shout out to Miss Virginia Calher for allowing us to come in here. I appreciate it. But today, we're highlighting Black excellence, especially from our young kings that are doing their thing, entrepreneurs, directors, business, innovation, you name it. So please give you a round of applause to Mr. Darius Mitchell, ladies and gentlemen. I got to do it for you.
Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, thank you for being here, brother. Pleasure. So let me take it back a little bit. So before, you was just mostly supervising, mostly, trying to get, I want to say, get your feet planted right to start, your own, your own base.
Yep.
As a professional, straightforward, you reaching for the skies, you want to create your own legacy now.
Yep.
Before you became the director, what made you, think about, man, I need something else that's calling me. I have a brighter future ahead of me, because supervising, it builds up, management skills.
Yeah.
And first, I would love to know what made you start off, being a leader, because not a lot of people can do that. That's tough work right there.
It's a good question. First off, again, thanks for having me, man.
Oh yeah.
See you doing great things.
Trying.
So, continue the good work. Everything you're doing, keep building towards where you want to go. So sometimes it's going to be tough. You're going to get discouraged.
Always.
So stay the path. You're fine. But for me, it probably was just a calling. So, there's an old saying that says, God doesn't call the qualified, he qualifies the called. So in that, it's kind of what I was bred to do. So even as a young man, I'm talking, 8, 9 years old, I felt I was different. I thought different than a lot of my friends. I felt different about certain things. So I was always troubled in that. I always had questions. Well, why is this, Mom? Or a teacher or a mentor? Well, why is this? And so as I grew, that hunger grew as well. And so when I got into my early teens, I was a normal teenager.
Yeah, we all knuckleheads.
It was about me. It was fashion, things of that nature, chasing girls and whatnot. But as I graduated, and God convicted me to do other things. So for me, my father went to prison when I was 10 years old, and he did 17 years. And when he came home, I was 27, and I had a toddler or a preschooler at that time. And around that time, I started to look at all of these young men who had grew up like me, who didn't have a dad at home.
Right.
So I would always wonder to my mom, like, what did I do that my dad wouldn't be around? 'Cause I was a pretty cool kid. I got great grades. I had all kind of awards and accolades. My father was never there. I was like, well, other men looked out for me and gave me opportunity because they saw I was trying to do something different. So if it would not have been for them, I probably wouldn't be here now. Obviously, God used them as a vessel. So in that, it became clear for me that everything I had been through, to wrap it up, was so I could be relatable. So when I went to the schools to talk to the young men, or when I coached Little League sports, I wasn't a suit. They could see me and see themselves, because I could talk to them and say, I know what it's like to grow up in a single parent home.
Right.
I know what it's like when your father go to prison and it's embarrassing, and your mom's trying to make ends meet and you don't always have the best. So when I spoke that, they looked at me different, because when they see this, they see the polish.
Yeah.
But so I make sure I tell them, like, hey man, I'm a neighborhood
Trials
guy,
and tribulations.
just like anybody else, man. So in that, it's a responsibility. So I had to make sure that I set a good example, because I started to realize that these young men were looking up to me. When mothers are coming to me and saying, I appreciate you doing what you do, because then it allows me to show my son a living example of somebody I know. Not on TV, but somebody I went to school with that I can touch. I can say, you can call Darius and he can help. So that meant a lot to me. So,
and plus you're like right in the neighborhood too.
Right.
So it's not like you're coming from Grand Rapids or Kalamazoo.
Right.
You have no idea how the community is.
Sure.
You're right.
I'm here. And
right.
and like business pays the bills.
Right.
But in that, on the backside of it, I often worked 2 jobs, or I had 2 projects going. So I went to work, then I educated myself, and then also I started to build my base or my platform. So brick by brick, I started to put those things in place, make the right connections, because I wanted to have influence. I didn't want necessarily to have money. I wanted to have influence. I wanted a seat at the table. I wanted to be able to say that,
wow,
I know what's going on because I'm at that table. So in hopes that I can protect some of those interests from the community, or at least be there to say, I know what the conversation is. So if I need to come back and say, hey, heads up.
Right, we need to look over this again.
Correct. They're coming for us.
Right.
But, I didn't have to take anybody's word for it. I'm at that table. So.
Oh shoot, man! I never knew that you coached.
Yep.
So that's something new to me. And so, what did you coach?
So
just to get it a little bit into like your coaching.
Yep, I coached football. So I coached football for about 10 years out at Orchard View Elementary. My son played football out there, and then after the first year, I guess they saw something in me and they asked me to be the president of the entire league. And so I coached, but I was also the president of the entire league. And I probably could not have had anything more rewarding, because to see this young person and you shape them and see them grow up now. So.
Oh yeah, they're going D1,
oh,
full
man.
scholarship.
So I've had like 6 players or 7 players that I had, get academic or athletic scholarships. And it's so cool because they call me and they say, Coach D, I would appreciate you coming to my graduation. Can you come to this award ceremony? Like, our relationship still exists even at this day. So for me, that's great, because that meant that I had a lasting impression positively in their lives. So it's cool stuff, man. That's what it's about.
Man, so you said being an influencer is what you strive for.
Yeah.
And I can see that. I really do. Just to give y'all a heads up, Darius used to be my supervisor.
TGW.
Man, he used to be my supervisor, and you was the best supervisor there.
Appreciate that.
In my opinion, and I hold strongly about it, because you have the people that power trip, you have narcissist type of thought process, and you're like, how are you able to manage, people? And if you're always thinking about me, I, and that was a big difference with me at that setting, at that job setting, at that point in time, is that you came to the people on the floor. You came to the people, as they say, and discuss either issues, what we're working on, what's the next move, what's the next, everything. It was step by step with us. So it was no guessing, so to speak. And it's like you took that type of thought process from coaching and brought it into like the base that your platform that you have now.
Right.
And so how, moving forward to now to your supervising of businesses and stuff, what did you take from coaching to apply to, as a businessman, on a business?
Good question, man. It's so psychological, man. You have to tap into the mental space that a person is in. So in coaching, if I want to get the best out of you, I have to find a way to motivate you. So in that, I need to find out what makes you tick. What is it that I can offer you, or some kind of incentive to get you to be where I need you to be. So for younger men, it's pretty easy. I mean, a slushy after practice, so it's pretty easy.
Just
but coaching overall just kind of gave me the thought process of forming relationships. But something you don't know about me. So when my dad went to prison, his best friend is is a pastor, a prominent pastor in state of Michigan. His name is Dwayne Bennett, or Administrative Assistant Dwayne Bennett.
Yeah.
He's the pastor of Mount Zion Church of God in Christ.
Yeah.
And so he's one of my godfathers. So I basically grew up in his house. So for all intents and purposes, I'm really a PK, right? So they've been telling me since I was 10 years old that, you know, it was a calling on my life, like you're different. You know, God has called you or chosen you to go forth and to be a shepherd of his men. So I probably ran from that calling. Oh, man, I tried to Carl Lewis that thing, man. Going the opposite way because I looked at that and it didn't fit what I thought of myself and what I thought of pastors at that time, given what I saw. So just some of the way that they carried themselves, I wasn't like that. So that's not going to work. Some of their messages or how they taught, I didn't agree with per se. And so I said, this is not going to work. And then I saw them unhappy a lot of times because it's long hours. And then in that too, you know, it's tough because how do you reach different age groups? So with that being said, you know, God talked to me and he said, that's exactly why I want you over there, because you're going to challenge the system. You're going to approach it differently, which in turn is going to allow other people to think that it's okay. So use your creativity and get done what you need to get done. I never told you have to sit in the pulpit on the Sunday.
Right.
So to answer your question, when we would be at work and I would come by and talk to you about what you got going on, what's next. That's ministry, Mel.
I never thought of it like that.
So I get the whole court. I don't have to sit in the pulpit, but I can talk to you, and I'm feeding God's sheep. So when I'm sitting there, it wasn't because I didn't believe in you and I'm asking these questions. It's to make sure that you understood what you were trying to do and that you have the resources to have that, or have you considered this? Because I knew where you were trying to go. So as a shepherd or someone who's called to lead, that is my legacy. So when I see other young men trying to do something, my job is to do whatever I can to help them get there more expeditiously, or expeditiously, or just to make sure that this is really where they want to go. Because sometimes we feel like we want to go here, but we really don't know. It sounds cool, So everybody want to have a podcast, right? But just hearing you today made me so proud because I saw you as a businessman. So I saw you delegating responsibilities. I saw you taking charge. I saw you deal with, when I came out the bathroom, some type of disappointment because the time schedule wouldn't meet up. So you say, well, we got to meet again. So for me, job well done. I'm like, cool. Mel got it. In that. And so that's really, man, where it comes from. It's personal for me. It's my ministry. So my charge is to make sure that as many young men as I can have opportunity like I do. So I try to knock down every door that I can, inspire them. So when my time is come and gone, then I have a legacy of I inspired other young black men to come in this room, because we can't do it by ourselves. And that's often like you and I talked Friday, that gatekeeper stuff. And one person gets in and they close the door and say, I'm here.
Can't do it.
I can't help you get no job. It's about my position. But if I'm not helping people, or if I'm not fulfilling God's destiny in that, I feel like my life don't go right. He punishes me in that, man. He's like, dude, this ain't about you. You gotta go forth and you gotta knock down these doors.
That's crazy, because it's like once you said that past Friday, gatekeeper. Yeah. I seen a video with Mike Epps on either the Breakfast Club, I want to say, or somewhere on a talk show radio, and he said the exact same thing. Gatekeepers. It's gatekeepers on every platform, on every stage, and it was like, wow, and I'm watching this Saturday. This is a whole nother. I'm like, dang, there's just talked about this. Right. And for him to see a video and him actually saying gatekeeper, straightforward, blunt, looking straight at, DJ Envy and all them, and it's like, wow, man, it really is like certain people that's fishing, like, how can I call it, shaking the bucket to see which diamond they want.
I'm telling you,
out of the bucket, and it's like,
you.
wow, all these diamonds, each one of them can do the exact, if not more,
and
than what you
are
have.
unique in their own way.
Right,
But that, listen, that's it. You articulated it so well, Mel, because that's what happens. So whoever they pick or they deem to be the next,
right,
then you're up. But what price?
Yeah,
You have to pay, man.
That's deep.
And that's the thing about it. And you know, I have some friends, and I have some female friends, you know, that picked it up. Like my mother talks about it all the time, right? And she says that she hates some of the people that I hang around because she can tell that the only reason that they're around me is because they really want to ride the wave. So she's been saying this since I've been about 17. So, you know, there's, because if you really know me, my mother's name is May Mitchell. So everybody, her maiden name is May Lane.
Yep.
Everybody knows May Lane, right?
Yeah.
So if you know her, you know, you love her, it's like mom. But, you know, if you're not in that circle, like I've had the same friends for like 30, 40 years, bro, like my whole life.
Right.
And so she's very protective of my energy and my space because she knows that in the season that I'm in my call, it's going to force me to have to engage with people because my ministry is to go help people.
Right.
So she prays over me, man, so that weapons that form against me don't prosper. Because she knows that I have to go in the lion's den because that's where the ministry is. So she prays that when I go in there that I'm covered, that I don't form the wrong relationships, because she seemed like you're already bigger than them. You don't think like that, but they know that because they sense it at the age you're at. You're doing better than them. So it's no secret why they try to hold you back or don't offer you the assistance, or their relationship with you is different now. So even though that they helped raise you, even though they've helped you get there, like we talked about, the fact that you can stand on your own and you don't, that's a problem. Because now it's not about them anymore, and it's not
about
this is
you.
my protege.
Yeah. That's which is messed up. It's like a crab in a bucket mentality. That is exactly. Oh my God! It's like a one-way street, but with no lights.
Right.
So once you go down this lane, especially you, because you broke a lot of barriers. There's a lot of good and there's a lot of bad. So how do you deal with that? Like how do you stay positive? Because we're human.
Yeah.
You know, we're men.
Yeah.
It gets to us.
Oh, for sure.
You know,
Yeah.
and sometimes we don't make the best decisions.
Right.
I'm just gonna say.
Oh, for sure. Right.
Sometimes we don't think about our consequences before our actions.
Yeah.
But with you, it's like you've been down that road so many times. What is a method that you use, even to this day, that you be like, okay, let me check Darius before anything, and then let me recalibrate what I was going to say, and then let me present it back to the people. Have you ever had those type of situations?
Every day. You know, everybody should have a buffer and an accountability partner. So for instance, my buffer a lot of times is my mother. So if I'm having a bad day and something's on me, right?
Yeah.
And I feel myself, like you say, I'm off center, I'm off base.
Right.
So before I post that or before I present that, I'll call my mom and I'll say, Mama, let me run this past you.
Right.
Because this is how I'm feeling, but I know that I'm affected. But I don't want my personal emotion to take away from the message that I want to put forward. So I want this message to be as general as possible, even though it's affected me personally. And so I'll run it past her. So she's my buffer before it gets out to the world. So everybody should have a buffer. You should have somebody that you run something past that you trust, knows what you're trying to do.
Yeah,
right?
That's a hard word right there.
That's why we ain't got to get too far off into it. That's why it's important to have real relationships, right? Not Facebook relationships. Real relationships, because you also need an accountability partner. You need somebody, to your point, to check you and say, no matter how big you get, no matter how wonderful people say you are subjected to the same rules as everybody else. So don't read your own headlines, right? So a lot of times too, that's my mother. And so no matter how much success I garner, she always tells me to make sure that I give the Lord credit, because that's all she knows. So you say, how do I deal with it? I pray. Like, I pray. So as my mother said, the weapons are going to form, but I pray that they don't prosper. So as you were setting up the camera, when I was pacing over there, I was praying for you, man. I was praying for us. So when you take this and you go forth and do what you need to do, that the right people see you and the wrong people leave you alone, right? So that's what you have to do, man. You have to be so secure in yourself, because that's the first thing people are going to try to attack, is your security within yourself. Because if you are insecure about yourself, nothing else is going to matter. Because that mental fight with yourself, that's the worst fight ever, man, when you second guess yourself. So I know who I am. So I'm a neighborhood guy, but I'm not a thug. I dress like this all the time. I'm probably more Carlton Banks, but I got real swag. I got real swag, but I'm really Carlton Banks, to just be honest. So I stay in my lane. I never tried to be a tough guy. I'll hold my own. I can speak for myself. I can stick up for myself. But that toxic masculinity, that's not who I am. So if you know me, you ask me and I can help you, that's what I'll do. But I'm secure in myself, so you can't knock me off that square. So some people might say I'm whack, they might say this or whatever, but I don't care about that, because honestly speaking, I might not be for you. That's okay. But the people that I'm for and the people who know me,
I'm right there for them, right there with them.
And that's all that matters, man. You know, you have to understand, kind of like you with your target audience. You know, if somebody likes a different type of platform, they might say, hey, well, I really don't enjoy this podcast. And that's fine. What you're looking for out of a podcast, I'm telling you, I don't do. So it doesn't bother me that you're not a fan. I appreciate that.
Thank you for your honesty.
Thank you for your honesty. But the platform that you have, they love it. So service them and don't even worry about it. And just pray, again, that you covered. And as you move forward, you foster wonderful relationships. Always put God first, man. And that's my recipe. That's all I got. It's that simple.
Man, I'm loving this. Oh, man. Thank y'all for tuning in. I see y'all clicking in. We will answer questions momentarily. But now to get back to the present. Can you please tell the people, what is your title? Or titles, should I say?
Got you. Well, I am the Director of Housing and Economic Security for the Urban League of West Michigan. I'm also co-chair for the Muskegon County Democratic Black Caucus.
That's big right there.
I'm also co-chair of the Muskegon County Democratic Party precinct delegate board, I should say. I'm also a elected official, so I'm a precinct delegate for precinct number 2 here in beautiful Muskegon Heights. And last but not least, I am an executive board member for Muskegon Young Black Professionals.
You're gonna need the Secret Service around you soon, man. That's a lot of titles.
Dad,
that's beautiful,
son,
man.
Father, son.
Out of all the titles, should I say, what is the one that pulls you closer, like that feels more comfortable? You know,
Mel, that's such a hard question, because all those roads end at the same place. So if I was to give someone some advice as they're moving forward, make sure that everything that you're doing is moving in the right direction. Anything that's counterproductive to your main goal, you got to get rid of it. So if I'm getting into politics, and I've always been a community activist. All my energy has to move towards that because it's already going to be a labor of love. It's going to be tough work, right?
Always. Yeah.
So what I can't do is put so much on myself when I'm trying to be 2 different or 3 different people. All my energy moves in the same direction. So for me, my why, you got to ask yourself, what is my why? My why is because, again, I'm a servant leader. So my charge is to go and, again, feed the sheep.
Okay.
Right? So in order to do that, I have to be in the spaces where the decisions are made. Because if I am only reacting to the decisions, then I'm not really a service to my people because I'm in the same boat that they are. I'm dealing with the circumstances that have come. I want to be proactive. I want to be in the room when the decisions are being made because I get a vote. So at the Urban League, as the housing director and over economic security or employment, my task is to help people find housing. I can help them with funds to get housing. Then also I can help them get a job. That's power. That's influence. As a precinct delegate, I'm in the community. I'm working with the community. I'm figuring out what the community needs. So when I go back to other entities that don't understand minority affairs or how disenfranchised we are, I can go right back, but I get a vote. I'm in the room. So in the Democratic Party, on the main Democratic Party overall, again, I'm in the room. I'm a decision maker. I know what's going on. I can say, well, hey, I know people who look like me who can do these jobs, who can fit these positions. I have power and influence. In the Black Caucus, just the same. So now not only do I have influence, I'm an example. Because Black men are normally the targets of any kind of political campaign because we have such a large demographic.
Yes.
But we're underrepresented, right? So they want to pass policy or use us as a referendum to pass their policies, but nobody's asking us how we feel or what's going on.
Right, if the policy fits,
it's us,
it's
whatever it's their agenda. So I say, I'm sick of that. So I want to be in the room. So when they say, well, we polled these, who you talk to? Because that ain't how we feel.
Right. You must speak to somebody else on the back room.
Because I'm an expert. I've been doing this for 42 years. That ain't what we don't care about that. And so to that end, everything I just mentioned fits my why. So nothing that I'm doing is counterproductive to the next thing. Everything is about uplifting and building the community, being a leader and having influence. Not for myself, because I'm gonna be a different kind of gatekeeper, as we talked about. I'm gonna be a gatekeeper that's gonna take the hinges off the gates so everybody can run in. So my job is to make sure that I present myself well.
I like that.
So when they say, well, Darius is cool, so if we get a few more Dariuses, then they'll be okay. So I get that, and that's offensive, but I'm gonna take it for what it is because my mission is bigger. So say what you want to say, but as soon as you turn around, now it's 10 of us.
Then what you gonna do?
Then what you gonna do? Because that's how they do us. That's smart though.
Right. I mean,
they make sure that their sons, that their neighbor's sons, everybody gets a job. He might be carrying coffee. Look at
he's still working in
the
room.
Room. Yeah. He's in the room, right?
That's right.
5 years later, the guy who was getting coffee, now he's a senator. How that happen? Because they trained him. So when the last person who was in power leave, they got somebody in there that they can trust, because when it comes down to these votes and decisions, I can't wait. If it's 7 of us, man, I can't just wait and thinking that you guys are just going to align with me. If we talking, that's not going to happen, right? I might get a couple.
That's an if.
But the goal is to make sure that in this, I have people who already I know for a fact I can count their vote. Because if not, you look at our own board, right? Mm-hmm. A collection of wonderful individuals. But however,
good group.
But however, sometimes there's a lot of issue because the opinions of such vary drastically. So it's tough to get something done when you need a majority vote. And politics is a bad deal, Mel.
See, I've never been in. Okay, I do my research about politics. I read about it, but as far as me, like, how you're in the pot.
Yeah.
You right in this, stirring it up, figuring out what goes where, who's to trust, who's not. How do you build a team in a world where, as people, everyday people say, politics lie?
Yeah.
So where does the truth come in?
Great question, man. I think probably the optimum word is transparency. Okay. So just like you said, people know what politics are, and they don't really have a positive outlook on politics.
No.
Right? Because often the old saying is like the deals happen in the back room, right?
Right.
So
behind closed doors.
Right. So that was part of the reason why I said I need to be in that room because I need to see what's going on.
Right.
But to that end, it's the transparency. So if there's a situation and something needs to happen, I don't think you could ever overshare the information. What makes people feel comfortable is understanding and knowing what's going on, because they don't necessarily have to understand it all. They need a frame of reference. Okay, so something as simple as you might see on Facebook, and they might be challenging our city, council, and they'll say, "Why did you choose to fix Reynolds Street versus Sherman Street?" Let's just say, right? And